All right, so for this game, we have a number of things going on that we kind of have to worry about. So there's a bunch of these employees that we have to assign to different security levels. They have these different security badges. But on top of that, we also have to worry about some of them being recent hires and some of them being more experienced. And we also have to worry about some of them being managers as well. Now, occasionally LSAC will do this. You'll notice that this is the first game of the set, and usually the first game tends to be a little bit easier. But what they'll sometimes do is they'll throw you a game where there's a bit of a curveball in a sense. It seems like it's rather complicated. But what usually happens in these situations is that once you kind of get a handle on how the game works and what is happening within the game, the rest of the game tends to be especially easier. So if you come across this kind of situation whereby the first game seems to have a lot going on and that kind of scares you, don't let that kind of scare you off too much. You don't want to jump to a different game right away. Give it a shot. There's a good chance you'll find that it's not as bad as it seems. Now, for this game, what we can do in terms of the setup, we can set this up based on the security levels. There are 4 essentially, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we can simply assign people to these security levels. So that works reasonably well. And then from there, the elements themselves, we have F, G, H, W, and then we've got Y and Z. Now, as we said, there are different types. So apparently we are told that F, G, and H are all recent, while the other guys all happen to be experienced. And on top of that, we are told that W and Z are going to be managers. So we can add a little M subscript to these guys to indicate that. And I guess that makes sense that the managers happen to be experienced. And then from there, I guess we know that each one of these people is only going to show up once. They're only going to be assigned to one of the security levels. And yeah, let's take a look at the rules. So the first rule says that every manager is going to have to be assigned a badge of a higher level than any non-managers. So essentially that means that I guess W and Z, the only managers, have to be above everyone else. I suppose in terms of symbolization, we can just kind of say that W and Z, who are managers, have to be above everyone, really. Next, we are told that every experienced employee must be assigned a badge that is higher than any recent hire. So essentially, experienced guys, which are basically these 3, W, Y, and Z, these guys effectively have to be higher numbered than the other guys, except you'll notice that at this point we can actually do a lot of damage with it because, I mean, in terms of these 3, W, Y, and Z, we already know that W and Z are going to have to be higher numbered than Y. And on top of that, now we know that Y also has to go higher numbered than all of these guys. So we effectively just kind of have a hierarchy. We can kind of say that F, G, and H, these 3 guys, are going to be below effectively everybody else, right? But in terms of everybody else, we know that Y is going to go below W and Z. So effectively, yeah, we kind of have a nice layout. We basically know that, I mean, these 3 guys effectively are going to have to go in the first 2 positions, right? These 3 guys can only go into 3 and 4. Y can only go in the middle between 2 and 3. We have a very nice sort of layout. So yeah, let's go. Let's see what we can do with the game. So the questions themselves. The first question is our standard exclusion question. So as usual, we go by the rules. Now, the first rule was that every manager has to go above a non-manager. So going through the answer choices, I mean, that was basically just W and Z who have to go above everybody else. So answer choice A has them alone in 4. That's good. Answer choice B, they're in 3 and 4 above everybody else. That's good. C has, that's not going to fly. So C has Y and Z together. So that's not going to work. D happens to have W and Z in 4 and nobody else. That's fine. And E has W below Y, which is not cool. So we can get rid of answer choice E. Next, the second rule was that the experienced guys have to be lower than the recents. So basically, FGH have to be below everybody else. So answer choice A, we had, that's not going to work. So G and Y, they can't be at the same level. So A is out. And B, we can't have G and Y again with F on level 2. So that's not going to work. Answer choice D, however, you'll notice we have FGH below everybody else. That's legit the best answer choice. The question number 1 is D. And I suppose if we wanted to be kind of thorough about our approach, we'll just plug that into the board. Answer choice D gives us G and H in level 1, followed by F, Y, and then the other guys. Next, question number 2. Looks like this is our first local. Let's take a look. If none of the employees is assigned a level 1, oh, well, that's huge because, I mean, if nobody gets a level 1, that means that essentially all of these are going to have to go in that relative sequence, right? We're going to have F, G, and H in 2. We're going to have a Y in 3. We're going to have W, Z in 4. Let's go. The question asks, who must go into level 3? And that is Y. Best answer to question 2 is D. Next. Question number 3. If exactly 2 of the recent hires are assigned level 2 badges, well, let's take a look. If we have exactly 2 people having level 2 badges, I guess, what does that tell us? What does that mean? Actually, I suppose it would have to be FGH, wouldn't it? Well, 2 of those guys, right? Because you'll notice that if we placed a Y over here, then there's nobody else that could go into level 2 because these guys have to go higher and these guys have to go lower. And there's definitely no way to place the W and the Z into. So effectively, yeah, if there's exactly 2 people on level 2, it's going to have to be 2 of F, G, H. We just don't know exactly which 2. But that further means that Y is going to have to go into 3, W and Z are going to have to go into 4, and then the third of F, G, H is going to go into 1. So that's pretty good. The question itself asks, which of the following now could be true? Let's take a look. A, F gets a higher number than G. And yeah, that could be true, couldn't it? Because these guys, F, G, H, can kind of just shuffle back and forth. The third one could go into 1, and that could easily be G. So that seems pretty legit. Just in case, though, let's take a look at the rest. Answer choice B, W goes higher than Z. And no, that definitely couldn't happen. They're together. Nobody goes to level 1. Nope. Nobody goes to level 3. Nope. And nobody in 4. No. So once again, best answer here is A. Next, question number 4. If nobody gets a level 4 badge, ooh, well, this is familiar territory. If nobody gets a level 4, I mean, that just means that everybody else lays out in that relative sequence. So we know that F, G, H are going to go into 1, Y is going to go over here, W and Z are going to go into 3, and we're good. The question asks, which of the following now must be true? A, H gets a level 2. Nope. In fact, that can't happen. B, Y gets a level 3. Nope. C, F is different from G. Nope, they're all together. D, F is different from H. Nope, they're all together. W is with Z, and yes, they are. The best answer to question 4 is E. Next, question 5. Which of the following, if we subbed it in for the rule that says that experienced guys get a higher level than the other guys? So I guess we don't quite have that explicitly on the board anymore, but roughly speaking, we are looking to replace basically this rule over here. And I suppose if you want to be technical, really what we're replacing is this aspect of it, that F, G, H are below everybody else. Yeah, I guess let's take a look. Answer choice A. Y has to be of a higher badge than any recent hire. Now that easily had to be true since, I mean, that's always been the case. We figured that out early, but would it get the job done? Actually, yeah, it sort of would, wouldn't it? Because if we say that Y has to be higher than any of the recents, it would certainly place Y above these guys, right? But the thing is, the other rule already told us that W and Z had to go above Y. So it would effectively mean that W and Z will also go above the recent hires. So yeah, that takes care of it. This would lock down the exact same impact, that the recent hires are basically kind of on the bottom of the totem pole here. So answer choice A works. Just in case though, let's take a quick look at the rest. B, everybody must be assigned a badge of a higher level than a recent hire. Oh, every manager, whoops. Every manager must be higher level than a recent hire. Now that had to be true since we obviously knew that W and Z are kind of at the top of the pack. The thing is though, this wouldn't really be enough. This wouldn't get the job done because answer choice B still doesn't quite tell us what happens with Y relative to these guys, right? Because the other rule only told us that Y would have to go below the managers, but answer choice B then leaves open then Y, F, G, H could kind of shuffle between each other. There's no real restriction between them. So answer choice B wouldn't be good enough. Answer choice C. Every experienced employee must be assigned either a 3 or a 4. Now, that never had to be true because Y didn't have to go into 3 or 4. Y could have gone into 2. So that wouldn't have been good enough. That never had to be true in the first place. To be fair, it probably wouldn't be good enough either because even if we say that every experienced employee has to go into 3 or 4, that still leaves open that recent hires could also go into 3 or 4, right? Because if we don't have this rule about F, G, and H have to be lower, then you could easily clump them into number 3 together with Y, and that wouldn't break anything. So C neither had to be true, nor would it be good enough to ensure the restriction. Next, D. If nobody goes into a level 1, then F, G, H have to all go into 2. Now, technically, that was true. In fact, we have a scenario where that happened, right? When we said that this was empty, F, G, and H had to kind of shove into number 2. So this did have to be true. The problem, though, is that this also doesn't get the job done. Because when you say that F, G, and H will have to go into 2, that doesn't tell you what happens to Y, for example. So that would easily allow for Y over here to also go into number 2 with them, since the rule that it's higher level wouldn't otherwise exist. So answer choice D wouldn't be good enough. Answer choice E, if nobody is assigned level 4, then F, G, H have to go into level 1. And again, technically true, because you can see kind of the one scenario where 4 was empty, we had to shove F, G, H into 1. But the question is, would this have gotten the job done? If we implemented this as a rule, would this ensure that they are always lower number than everybody else? And no, you run into the same issue with Y. Because by simply saying that F, G, H will have to go into 1, so if 4 was empty, you'll have to have F, G, H all in 1, this leaves open that you could throw Y in there with them, right? Because this sort of restriction wouldn't otherwise exist. So this would leave open that you could have had F, G, H, and Y all go into 1. So this wouldn't ensure that the recent hires are below everybody else. So the best answer here is answer choice A.